What is up, Kick and Bass gang? Da Daddy's back, and today we're making some thickness that goes a little something like this.
Sunglasses at night. Don't talk to me. Yeah. Don't talk to me.
As always, make sure to subscribe for more sauce, and if you guys need sounds like the ones in this project or want to check out the project file, links are in the description below. Let's get it. All right, let's take it from the second build up.
Sunglasses at night. Don't talk to me. Yeah. Don't talk to me. Yeah. I wear my. Yeah. Don't talk to me. Yeah.
All right, let's start with some of these drop sounds because there's a bunch going on here. All right, the first sound we got here is this bouncy little saw pluck. Let's check it out. So for the MIDI, we just have a bouncy sort of 16th note rhythm. And then at the end of every 2 bars, we go down an octave and then up an octave and a minor second. And this note is super swung just to drag you into the next section. And for the synth patch, it's a preset from the upcoming Kick and Bass Underground Serum preset pack. And this is just a saw wave, 3 voices unison with a bunch of detune. And then we have envelope 1 going on the cutoff just to give it some pluckiness. Then we have LFO 5 doing a slow vibrato on the fine tune up here just to give it some weirdness. And in the effects, we got distortion. Let's listen without it. So distortion, just to give it some warmth. A little bit of OTT, just to bring it out. And then EQ, just to sculpt out anything we don't need. Then we have in post an EQ8, just to duck out some of the resonance in the mid here. Then we have an Ozone 11 exciter, just to add some buzz to the highs. And then some triode to the mids here just to bring it out. Just to make it sort of like more nasally. Then after that, we just have a clipper just to make sure it's not coming out too hot, and an LFO tool just to give it some bounciness when the kick hits. Below that, we have this stab synth. Again in the root note. And for this, I just copied down the first synth and brought up the envelope so it wasn't a pluck. And then for the pitch bend down here, I set it to plus minus 12. And then I just ramp up the pitch bend on every note just to like swing it up as like a stab sort of sound. So that's on every 2 bars. Then below that, we have a wub fill just to emphasize the downbeat and the upbeat. So. And again, this is a preset from the Underground pack, and it's just envelope 1 on the wavetable position of oscillator A and the filter. Then we have a saw wave in oscillator B with a bunch of unison just to give it some width. And what's giving it the wubbiness is mostly the resonance over here. So if we bring this up, it's kind of hard to hear. But in the effects, again, we just have OTT just to bring it out. Then dimension, low size, high mix, just to make it wide. Then distortion just to bring it out, and EQ to cut out some of the lows. And in post, we're just taming some of the mids here and then boosting up the low mids just to give it some more beef. Then again, some LFO tool. And we have another wub at the end of every 2. And this is going to be the same sort of logic as the first one. So we have envelope 1 controlling the cutoff. And then we have a saw wave in the bass frequency, and then another one an octave up and 7 semitones. So this one's giving it a lot of the upper harmonics. Then Then again, won't go too much into the processing, but you guys can check out the project file on the Patreon if you want. And then in post, boosting some of the lows and giving it some overdrive just to add some more higher harmonics. And same process with the clipper and some LFO tool. Then we have my favorite sound, which is the woo down here. So we have two variations of this. We have the low one, which is, and the high one. And this is another preset from the upcoming pack. One of my favorite sounds that I've ever made. So it's just two sine waves, one 3 octaves down, and then the other is -1 +7. Then we have FM from B right here. And this tone knob, which lets us flip between the low and the high version. And on top of that, we have LFO 4, which is always mapped to the master tune on kick and bass presets. And this is going down roughly about 2 semitones. So this is set up so that this is minus an octave, and then in the middle is nothing, just so you could easily control the pitch right here. Then we have the vibrato on LFO 5 set on oscillator A, and in the effects, the distortion, which is doing a lot of the work here. So without this, just sounds like a simple sine wave, but this like distorts super well with the vibrato. Makes it real nice. Then we have a bunch of dimension, low size, just to make it super wide in the mix. And in post, we just have this reverb rack that turns on only when the sound is playing, just to give it some space. Yeah.
Don't talk to me.
Let's check out the kick and bass up here. So for the kick, we just picked a good sample, and then I put it in the root note, which is G. And to do that, all you have to do, well, what I did is you go to the envelopes in here, and then you just have to pitch. I bounced this one out, but you just can pitch down just the sub. So you could just go like this if the sub is in F, and then you could just pitch it down one like that, and then just resample it. So I just put it in the root note, and then duplicated just the attack part of it, and EQ'd out some of the lows, boosted the mids just to give it some more punch. And on the group, we just have drum bus. This is the default setting at 50%, then ducking out some of the subs so it's not hitting so hard. And then we just have a clipper at the end. For the bass, we have another kick and bass preset from Alchemist Volume 2. So it's just the Icon has kick wavetable, which has like a lot of mid frequencies just to fill up that range. Then we just have OTT, a filter with envelope 1 on it, just to give it some pluckiness, and then some distortion and chorus just to add some width. Then in post, I just ducked out some of the mids and boosted the lows just to add in more sub because it doesn't have a lot of sub as is. Let's check out the percussion here. So we got 3 different claps going on. There's not really a lot of thought process that goes into this. It's just like picking up, or it's just stacking samples just to find which ones like complement each other well. So we have an attacky layer, a more like percussive transient layer. Then we have a pre-shifted sweep that goes into just the second clap. And then a third, that's 3, a third clap just to add some air and some width. And some processing on the group. Standard multiband just to tame some of the highs, cut out the lows that we don't need, and just clipping it at the end. Other than that, we just have a build snare and then this little like clap reverb that fills in some of the breakdown sections. And then a clap fill at the end of every 8. For the tops, we just have a bunch of different open hats, again, it's just sort of just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what fits together. So this one's more like noisy. This one's more like a 909. This one has a lot of noise on it. And then we have a kick and bass ride loop. And then just 2 little offbeat hats from this loop that I found. So I cut out everything else and then just kept the offbeat hats just to give it some more rhythm in the drop. So without these, this is what's giving it most of the groove. And then on these, I have the first hit is in the left ear, 17, and the second hit is in the right, just to fill in some of the stereo imaging. And that's about it. Just picking good stuff and just filling it out with layering. Let's check out the vocal.
Sunglasses and sunglasses and sunglasses and sunglasses and sunglasses and sunglasses and I wear my sunglasses at night. Don't talk to me.
So for the processing, we got a glue compressor just to gel it together. EQ8, just boosting some of the stuff that we want. And then a bunch more EQs, just sort of feeling out how to make the vocal as full as possible without having it be too resonant. Then we have a de-esser. And for Pro Q3, you just have to press this little headphone button right here and listen for the resonant part, and then just drag down the bell on dynamic mode.
Sunglasses and I wear my sunglasses at night. Don't talk to me.
Then after that, we have a delay rack. So this is set up like a send. We have the dry version and then the wet. And I just wanted like a weird sort of delay on this. So I have this on time mode. And then I just kind of felt out what felt right with the timing here.
Yeah.
So it's just giving it like a super spaced out feel. Then we just have a little bit of reverb right here.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't talk to me. Yeah. Yeah. I wear my.
Let's check out the arrangement here. So in the first part of the intro, we just got the hat and then the kick and the bass with no lows in the bass. Then we have the second part, which brings in the lows. And then we have a vocal effect that's filtering in. So this is just the sunglasses part of the vocal. And we have the auto pan that's swinging it from ear to ear. And then an LFO tool on the 16th note, like a ramp, just to make it sort of bouncy. And it introduces the vocal in the intros. In intro C, we just have a little bit more of the vocal coming in. Then we have the verse right here.
Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. Don't talk. You said the music.
And then we're also teasing some of the sounds that come later. So for the lead, we just have the little turnaround part at the end of every 2 bars. Then we have the wubs, but with more space effects on it, just to introduce them as well. So we have the wub with a triplet delay on it and a bunch of reverb. And then we have the low version of the woo. Nice.
Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me.
And in terms of the spacing of these sounds, it's always like after the vocal cuts out. And that's just like how to have like better phrasing with your sounds. So as soon as the vocal stops talking, I try to have something fill in the space just to add variation.
Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me.
Yeah, so every time it stops talking, we just have a little bit of the synths coming in.
To me. Don't talk. You said the music's not your type. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me.
Then we have the second part of the verse, which just repeats. And we throw in a ride here.
Sunglasses at night. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me.
Then for the breakdown, we cut out most of the drums and then have the lead filter in. And then in the build, we have the build snare that comes in. And then we have the kick filtering in. And then it just increases the frequency that it's played at the end of the build. first part of the drop, we just have the one hat, and then we introduce the more of the top. And then on the second part of the first drop, we also flip on this delay just for part of the lead phrase, just to add some variation. Then we cut out the basses right here and have the second part of the verse. And from there, it pretty much just repeats, and we change just some of the tone of the sounds. So like I said, with the FM on the woo, and then we just cut out some drums for a little bit of a fake out right here. Lastly, for the master, I would definitely do a little bit more than this, but I just tried to mix it as good as possible, and then we just have a clipper on here, really. And then for the build-ups, we take out some of the high frequencies and then drop the gain about 2 just so the drop hits harder. Let's hit it one more time for the people. All right, gang, that's going to do it for the track breakdown. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so we could spread the gospel. And if you guys need the sample pack sauce or want to check out the project file, links are in the description below. Peace.